Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Boston Straight Shooters. I'm your host for this evening, Steve, aka Negative Ned. Uh, Not sure if we're gonna have Frank or not, uh, so we'll try to hold down the fort while he's hopefully coming on. This is the show we talk about the Patriots, the Bruins, the Celtics, and the Red Sox. Get you all caught up to speed on the goings on over the past week. And since this is our first show of 2026, wish everybody a happy new year and much health and prosperity to everybody. And that being said, and that goes for the local teams too. Hopefully, Santa Claus left a few wins under the tree for the rest of the year. So we'll see what happens. For right now, though, let me see. I'm going to try and post a link for you guys so you can join the show, and then we'll get going. We are gonna talk about the Bruins first. Since they were on the West Coast last week. Where is that? Let me show this here. Here we go. Yeah, they took 2 out of 3 last week. Um, they beat Edmonton 6-2. They beat Vancouver 3-2 in overtime, and they lost to Seattle Kraken 7-4. And we're going to dive into these games in half a second here. Give me 1 second to do this, and we'll get started. Hopefully, we'll get some people to join us. All right. I think we're ready. Here we go. All right. So, look, the Bruins took 2 out of 3. Edmonton, that's a game I thought they would lose, especially since they won the first match up here 3-1. They kind of held McDavid in check. Not that he didn't have chances or whatever, but he only had 1 assist in the game. And the Bruins actually look good. And usually on New Year's Eve they don't look good, so I got to give them some credit. You know, they their skating was on. They were matching them up and down the ice, and they took advantage of their opportunities. David Pastrnak 2 goals. Jeremy Swayman was sharp in net, stopped 34 of 36 shots, and so I haven't been able to figure these Bruins out. You know, they lose 5 in a row at some point here and there, and then all of a sudden, you think they're going to get stomped, and they reverse it, and they get 6 goals. I don't know how they do it, but it was a good win for them. They were 1 for 3 on the power play, and they killed all 5 Edmonton power plays. Edmonton's power play percentage is like 34%. It's number 1 in the league. They have McDavid, as I mentioned, and Leon Draisaitl. That's a lethal 1-2 punch. That's, to me, reminiscent of like Gretzky and Yari Curry back in the day. Their power play is unbelievable. And, to hold them to no goals on the power play, that's a huge accomplishment, because not a lot of teams do that. And, got to tip your cap to them. I don't know how they did it, but, you got to give them kudos for stepping up and doing a good job after the losing streak they were on. It's unfortunate that when they were home and they had that 5-game homestand, they went 1-4. It's too bad, because they could have stayed within probably the top 3 in the division if they'd have won a couple more of those games. But nonetheless, traveling out west and going to Edmonton is not an easy place to play, not an easy team to play. They've been in the Cup Finals the last 2 years. They're a good team, and to wax them like that is crazy. I definitely did not see that coming. And so good for them. It was a good win. Anytime you can hold Connor McDavid to no goals and 1 assist in a game, that's pretty huge. Next game they played in Vancouver. They had a 2-1 lead. They lost the lead. It was 2-2 after 2 periods. It took them to overtime to get the W. Frazier Minton came up big, scored 2 goals in the game, scored the game winner within the last, in the last like 19 seconds, I think, to give them the win. So as much as I harp on the Bruins for giving up goals late in the period, it was nice to see the script flipped once for a change, so I don't have to yell at them. Frazier Minton is really doing a good job for a young kid as the number 3 center, I should say, and he's becoming a good 2-way player. He's got a snipe. He can rifle it. They got some chips. They got some pieces in the trades last year. So people should be pleased with Frazier Minton. I'm happy with him. I think he's going to be a good player for them for their future. And in that game, also again, Swayman played again. He looked good. He stopped 32 of 34 shots. There's games where he's sharp as a tack. Games like this was one of those games. Old friend Jake DeBrusk, I don't think he did anything, which is good. I'm glad. Every time one of the former Bruins does something, it's like, oh, how come we can't get guys like this? I'm glad they didn't try to re-sign him. He's not really doing too good out there either. So, like I said, the return that they got last year at the deadline when they traded away Brandon Carlo and Charlie Coyle and so forth, it's paying dividends, and hopefully these guys can keep it going. And then finally, they lost to Seattle, and that was a game that got ugly. It got out of hand on them. They were tied at 2, but Seattle scored with about a minute and a half left in the second period to make it 3-2. And then they scored with 1 second left on the power play. And I say 1 second left, I mean 1 second left in the period. Overall, the penalty kill has been pretty good, but they're taking too many penalties. Seattle, I forget what they were on the power play in that game. But the Bruins are the most penalized team in the league. They take a lot of dumb penalties, and it's going to bite them. It's going to catch up with them and bite them. More so if they don't rectify it going forward. You just can't give the other team too many power plays. You won't be able to keep up. You don't have typically you don't have the firepower to match with these guys most of the time. And there's games like this where they prove me wrong. Now, they scored 4 goals, but the game got out of hand. It was actually 6-2. They actually weren't in the game. Korpisalo played in net, and he played the whole game. He only stopped 20 of 26 shots. Not good. And my guess is, because I didn't see much after the first period, they didn't. Their defense was probably lacking. I mean, these are the games where they give up 6-7 goals and the defense isn't good, and they keep getting these. I'm going to have to go back and do a run through and find out how many they've had so far this year. But last year they had 14 or 15 of these kind of games where they give up 6-7 goals. That's way too many, especially for, Marco Sturm coming in here and saying, hey, we're going to be more defensive. And Neely and Sweeney basically, without actually saying it, they kind of said it, hey, there's going to be a lot of close games, 2-1, 3-2, whatever. We've been talking about it since free agency in the summer. And, you turn around and it's 7-4, 7-2, 6-5, 6-3, whatever, 6-2. Like, they're giving up 6 goals, 5 goals, 7 goals. Like, it's too much, But, I also do think that the schedule is hurting them. I think earlier on in the year, they probably surprised some teams. And I would say that the schedule is catching up with them. I mean, the schedule because of the Olympics is freaking brutal. I took a look real quick before we came on. They have, I think, 13 games this month and 11 days off. So they have a stretch where they play a game, a day off, a game, a day off. In this case, for this week, starting tonight, they have game tonight, off Friday, game Saturday, game Sunday. They have 3 games in 4 nights. Then they have Monday off, and they have another game on Tuesday, and then they have Wednesday off, another game on Thursday, and so forth. That's a killer of a grind. This isn't like baseball where you can play every day or every other day. I mean, this is ridiculous. I don't like this. They're going to have to figure something out going forward because a lot of teams are dealing with injuries too. The Bruins are dealing with injury again. Hampus Lindholm got hurt on the road trip. They didn't say what the injury was, so I don't know if there's a timetable for his return. I don't think it's day to day. I think it's probably more like week to week again, and that hurts too on defense for them. Excuse me. So that's a big loss. He plays 20 minutes a game. He's pretty good defensively. It hurts their depth. And, they can't afford to have him out long term. But I think that this schedule is probably not user friendly for him, given what he was dealing with. So he's going to have to be watched. I mean, they may reach a point where, and I hate this because basketball does this, but they have load management in basketball where, when they have back-to-back nights, the basketball players play one game, they don't play the next game, or vice versa. In this case, they may have to do that with Lindholm. They may have, if you have 3 games in 4 days, you may have to play him one game, you have a day off, then you play him, and then you have the back-to-back the next night, right? You may have to sit him that game so he doesn't get too worn down, and then put him back in the lineup and give him a few days off. I don't know any other way to keep him from continuously winding up hurt over the last stretch. And I looked at March's schedule too, and they have 16 games in 30 days. Again, a game basically every other day. I mean, that's brutal. So you got, this stretch this month, then you have the Olympic break in February, and I forget if it's 2 or 3 weeks, but there's a lull with there's no NHL. You got Olympic hockey going on, and you have guys that are on the Bruins that are playing for their home country. Swayman is playing for USA. I think Pasternak's playing for his country, and I forget who else is playing. But you're gonna have a handful of guys that are not here that are playing in the Olympics. I see you, Danny. Hang on for half a second. I'm going to get to you. So listen, this schedule is brutal, and it's not boding well for them. The Bruins are now in 7th place in the division and 6th in the wild card spot. Now the wild card, because everything is so tight, they're actually only 3 points out of a wild card spot. Believe it or not. And again, like I said, all the teams are going through the same thing every day or every other day. They're flip-flopping each other in the standings. It's 1 point, 2 points for a win, blah, blah. So there's a lot of flip-flopping going on. McAvoy's playing for USA too. Yeah, I forgot about him. Thank you, Danny. And I do like the Olympic hockey, and part of the reason I like it is because the rinks are bigger, and you get more offense out of it. I wish NHL rinks were a tad bigger. I've said this before. I think they should take out the first row of seats all the way around the rink and make it wider and make it a little bigger for the players. I mean, the players are bigger, but the rink stayed the same. So I don't know. That's a rant for another day, but Olympics in February is going to be interesting. And we will talk about it because we will have, like I said, you're gonna have guys on the Bruins that are playing for their country. And we'll give some updates on how that's going with them. should have held on to Boosie. I totally 100% agree with that. I do not want them to get rid of him. They did keep DiPietro, but they put him on a 2-way contract, and I think he signed a 2-year deal. I really hope Don Sweeney tries harder in the offseason to get rid of Korpisalo. I understand why they had to take him and his crappy contract, but I looked, his buyout for next year, if they bought him out, is $1 million, and his cap hit would be $1 million instead of $3 million. I don't know why they wouldn't try to save $2 million and then bring up DiPietro. That's what I would do. I would eat the money. If you can't trade him, and I don't think you're going to be able to trade him because his value is going to be, you're going to get a bag of pucks. I don't know that anybody would want him, but he's got 2 more years on the books after this year, and his cap hit, he's making $3 million. Buy him out for $1.08 million. Buy him out for 2 years. He's got that on the cap, and that's it. And you got DiPietro next year for $800,000. So you're still saving money. You're saving like $1 million, like $1.2 million by doing that. I would do that in a second, and you get a better goalie. I mean, again. DiPietro is his goals against average in Providence is under 2. Again, I think he's like, I don't know. I forget. I looked earlier. I think he's like 10-1 or 10-3 or 12-3. I don't know. But he's good, and he was the goalie of the year last year. So you're wasting him, and then you're going to give him away like Boosie for nothing. That's stupid. And I know I'm getting ahead of myself because the trade deadline is not here yet. But and not to rail too much, but they're aggravating me by not giving a young guy a chance to be on the bench at least. And you know what? With the way that the schedule is going, and you have games every other day or whatever, you get DiPietro in here, younger guy, fresh legs, and give Swayman a break. And maybe the 1-2 punch is better. I mean, they got to get better goaltending. That's part of it too. Again, I'd be curious to see if at the deadline in March, if there's any way they could get rid of Korpisalo. I doubt it. But after this year, I would just cut him. I'd just turn him loose and say, all right, look, we're done with you. Bye-bye. Adios. And yes, the Bruins are playing Calgary Flames tonight. They were up 2-0 at the end of the first. And, there was almost a fight. I think it was Castle against somebody else. I forget what happened, but again, we've been going back and forth a little bit between me, you, Danny, and Tim Anderson, who's part of our group too. And I like the old school fights. I like the fights. I'm fine with that part of it, but the Bruins don't need a whole team full of goons or fighters like they had back in the 70s. They have Zadorov, they have Kastelik, a guy like Tanner Janot. They don't need him to fight. And anybody else that's trying to fight, we don't need that. That's not Backlund. Who's that? Who is Backlund, Danny? I'm stumped there. We'll figure that out. But yeah, I mean, listen, the Bruins were getting pushed around 2 years ago against Florida. They got pushed around again last year. I wanted them to get tougher, and I'm fine with that. But, they definitely need to upgrade talent-wise somehow and get some scorers. And when they played Montreal a week or two ago, it was evident that they couldn't keep up speed-wise. This happened the year they won the Cup after that, after around that time when Montreal was quick and speedy. And the Bruins were big, and they were fighting, and they were beating everybody up. There's going to be a flip, right? They got to get some better talent in here. All right. Almost fought. All right. Thank you. Okay. Backlund. All right. That makes sense now. I thought you were talking about a Bruins player. Like, who the heck is this guy? Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Okay. Backlund almost fought Castle. All right. So that's something to look forward to maybe in the next period or so to see if those two go at it. Let's switch gears now and talk about the Patriots. The Patriots beat the Dolphins 38-10. As Danny and almost anybody else that knows me, in the first half, It was not all, roses and flowers and tulips in Pleasantville. I was kind of getting pissed off at them for letting Miami get back in the game when it was 14. They had a 14-0 lead. They let them get it to 14-10. I was not happy with that. But then they rectified themselves and they went on a tear and fixed it. Let me do what me and Frank usually do. We usually do the 3 takeaways from the game, and I did have 3 keys to the game from last week. Let's see. 3 keys to the game against Miami. No more key injuries. That was huge. Can't afford to have any more guys get leaving hurt. Keep the well-oiled machine going on offense. They pretty much did. And we'll get into the specifics in a little bit. And the defense needed to make some stops early. They did in the first quarter. They did a good job in the first quarter, not letting Miami get too far. And, I wish they would have done a better job in the second quarter. But you know what? Overall, it's difficult to complain when you're holding the 10 points of the whole game. So they did a good job in the second half. And I got to give them credit for that. Now, the takeaways, the Patriots offense was dominant again. They ran the ball down their throats. Big, huge runs by Stevenson and Henderson. They both did a good job. Mostly Stevenson. He was unreal. The O-line and the ground game were great. Like I just said, Stevenson, 7 carries, 131 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also caught a touchdown. So he had 3 touchdowns in the game. And he ended up being named Offensive Player of the Week. And then, the defense looked better. They made some big plays. They had 2 turnovers and 4 sacks. And they're going to need that this week against the Chargers. So, all right, Danny, keep the players out of jail. I think that goes without saying, and we're not gonna dive into that because we did that last week. Spillane was missed, and Spillane definitely absolutely missed. He's been missed the last 3 or 4 weeks. He's been out. I want to say he's coming back this week, but I'm not 100% sure. It would be huge to get him back. And having Milton Williams back last week was big too. The Patriots got back to holding the Miami ground game under 100 yards. They held them to 63 yards. And, I guess take it with a grain of salt. A team like Miami that's kind of rebuilding. They got nothing to play for. They have some third-string no-name at quarterback, Ewers. And, their real starting running back was out hurt. So, there was a little bit of a loss there. But, Miami's coming here. It's cold. It's the last game of the year. You got nothing to play for. I could see them rolling over. Spillane is limited. Okay, thanks for that update, Danny. He's limited this week. All right, so limited. So, my guess is he may be listed as doubtful or questionable instead of out, which is better. But it would be better. I'd feel a lot better if he was playing because, once we start diving into what the Chargers can do, he's going to be a factor. And and so now that the season is over, it is time for Negative Ned to eat crow, as I have done on here numbers of times, and it'll continue to happen because that's what happens when you're wrong. You have to eat crow. I know Frank isn't here, but I definitely need to give him credit. He did say they would get double-digit wins. He had them in the 12 win range. So kudos to him. I had stuck with it up until they won their 8th game. I had them at 8 or 9 wins, and phenomenal job by them guys. They did a good job. So I'll give them credit there. And another area where I have to eat crow is Stevenson. Late in the year here, the last probably 3 or 4 games has played much better. Vrabel proved me wrong. When he fumbled against the Steelers, I had his bags packed at halftime to ship him out of here. And listen, I do like him. He's a good player when he doesn't fumble. Right? He's a hard nosed runner. Uh, he makes a ton of yards after contact. He's in the top. I'll tell you what, if he's not uh, top 2 or 3, he's in the top 5 for sure. With the extra yardage he gets after getting hit. Number one, number two, he's a pretty good blocker and blitz pickup. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's powerful, and he can get touchdowns. So all around, he's a good player. And the year that he had before he got the contract uh, is the guy that we've needed the whole time, and hopefully he's more of that guy going forward as we head into the playoffs, because they're going to need him. They're going to need him to run the ball if they want to win. And knock on wood, so far so good. We'll see what happens. Travion Henderson, I think considering how slow he started in the first 6-7 games, tremendous rookie season. I just looked up his stats real quick. Finished 911 yards. And a majority of those came from game like 7 or 8 on. And he's a game breaker. I'm glad they picked him. He's a guy, like I said before on here, that they haven't had a game breaker like him, a guy that can take one 70, 80 yards to the house. I'm a little frustrated that they keep trying to run him up the middle. I don't know why they keep doing that. You're not really utilizing his strengths. I understand, if you can make the hole big enough for him to slip through it, he can take off, because he has done it. But those are rare, far and few between. And I have a feeling, I don't have definitive proof of this because I have to look, but it feels to me like the right side of the line, they run better on the right side, because you got a Wendell over there, and you got it's a dude's name. Trying to blank. Number 76. Oh, the big guy they signed from the Jets. Oh my God, this is awful. I can't think of his name, but you get the picture. On that side of the line, those guys have been doing a good job in the run game, and actually they do a good job in the run game overall. And they've cut the penalties way back. 4 penalties last week. A far cry from last year when they were one of the most penalized teams in the league. And look, it started out a little rough here the first few weeks, but they've rectified that. To me, it's a 180. There's not like a lot of stalled drives. There's not a lot of false starts or holding or whatever that puts them backwards. And listen, the Patriots, excuse me. I did a little look at the numbers, and the Patriots were easily in the top 5 in scoring this year. They averaged 28.8 points a game. I figured if they could average 24-ish, we figured they would be right around there. We at the very beginning of the year, we're like, this offense has to get minimum 20 or 24 points a game, bare minimum. Can't be 13, 14 points. Horrible. Right? So, I mean, you look at the job that these guys have done offensively, Josh McDaniels and Drake May, and those are going to be the guys that stick out, obviously. But I think that Doug Marrone is the offensive line coach, consultant, whatever stupid title they call him. In my opinion, he's the de facto offensive line coach, and he's a good offensive line coach. And even with the injuries they had to Will Campbell and Jared Wilson, the other rookie at left guard, the guys that they've had to play. Fedarian Lowe, another guy, last year was a turnstile. I wanted to run him out of here last year. I didn't want him to come back. He's a complete 180. And, I apologize, because that's the difference between having a good offensive line coach and good coaching overall versus Gerard Mayo and the staff that was here last year. And again, we're not going to we're not here to bash Gerard Mayo or any of the coaches. That situation, which is a bad situation, but the difference in coaching between that staff and this staff is 180 degrees. It's night and day, and the play on the field proves it. I mean, Vidarian Lowe, a lot of the time out there last year, just looked lost. He would be on the other end, and a guy would go by him. He'd be like this, and he looked like a turnstile. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Or blocking nobody. Like, he just looked lost. This year, haven't heard much out of him. You don't see him getting beat a lot. You don't see penalties like last year. I just think that, coaching staff deserves a lot of credit for helping these guys out and making the line better. And I like Will Campbell as the left tackle. I know that there's going to be all kinds of stupid scuttlebutt when the draft comes around that they should take another left tackle and get a bigger guy and kick him inside and then kick Jared Wilson over the center and blah, blah. If they have the same coaching staff and they still have Doug Marrone here, I would see no reason to do that. If I was them, I would get a right tackle or a right guard. I don't know who the backup is for Oweno right now off the top of my head. But, that's a guy that makes a boatload of dough, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was a guy they looked at cutting in the offseason. If not this year, coming up, it would be the following year. But, the right side of the line to me is going to have to be taken care of. Damn, I can't remember the right tackle's name. That's awful. But he's an older guy, 34 years old, and I'm glad they brought him in. He's a veteran, stabilized the line. But, how long does he have? Even if he signed a 3-year deal, he may not last all 3 years. So you got to get the next guy ready behind him. That would be my focus personally. And let's talk about the defense for a second, because you got Gonzalez coming up for a contract. I think his rookie deal is ending. Well, it's pretty close to ending, so you're going to have to pay him. But having Milton Williams in the middle and having Spillane out there, and Gibbons is playing better. Listen, when everybody's there and everybody's healthy, the defense, we saw what they did in the first 9 games, holding everybody under 50 yards or around 50 yards or whatever it is, the first 9 weeks. And they make plays. They make plays at opportune times. Now, I know that the bugaboo with giving up the touchdowns on the first drive, hopefully that's rectified, because you cannot let you can't let the San Diego Chargers. You can't let the LA Chargers with their Herbert in there coming back now, even though he's got a broken hand. You can't let him run down the field on first drive and go up 7-0 in this building. They got to find a way to make sure they stop that. So let's look at Sunday's matchup with the Chargers. I know you moved on, but it's 4-0 now. Don't be a Ned. All right, Danny. Thanks for an update. I don't have to be a Ned now. They got a 4-0 lead. However, I have to be a negative Ned. There is no 3-0 or 4-0 lead that is ever safe with those guys. They always find a way to poo-poo it. So I hope I'm wrong. 4-0 lead. Good for them. Don't screw it up. Okay? There's my negative Ned for the night, hopefully. Not. All right, let's do this. Let's do Patriots Chargers. What we're looking forward to here. The keys to the game for me: don't let Lab McConkey and Keenan Allen beat you. They have to find a way to stop those two guys. Last year when they came here and they beat the Patriots 40-7, Lad McConkey right down the middle, touchdown, unguarded. And I think that was a communication issue probably. But, I seen something earlier that, they didn't have great stats, this and that. McConkey only had 789 yards and Keenan Allen had 777. And, I don't care about any of that right now. Keenan Allen is still dangerous. That guy can get you 10 to 14 receptions on 100 between 100 and 140 yards, no matter how old he is. It doesn't matter. He's dangerous on third down, especially. That's going to be a tough matchup. McConkey, he's just quick, and he's talented. So, the experts that I watched earlier on that were like trying to kind of poo-poo these guys, no, you can't do that. I don't care what their numbers are. For what they did to you last year, you don't get to sit there and say, oh, don't worry about them. No, those are probably the top two guys I'd be worried about. Their running game, I'm not as worried about. Not that they can't run the ball, but I saw some numbers where their offensive line pass block win rate was 54%, which is last in the NFL, 32nd. And their run block win rate was 69%, which is 31st in the NFL. So, I like to go with the numbers don't lie thing, but can't underestimate them. Jim Harbaugh is a good coach. There's a reason he landed there. He has turned them around. I want to say they've had 2 winning seasons in a row. They won 11 games. They probably could have won more. Herbert didn't break his arm. They rested him last week, so the game in Denver meant nothing really for them, other than not getting anybody else hurt. Their defense is tough. It's not going to be an easy victory for the Patriots. So they just have to make sure they have all their ducks in a row. Don't take them lightly. I think that if these numbers are true on the offensive line, now look, they're missing 3 starters, I think, on the offensive line. And this is similar to what the Patriots went through last year. So when you're down to your second and third string guys on the O-line, it's not going to look pretty. And hopefully the Patriots can take advantage of that. They have to be able to pressure Herbert, and they have to be able to stop the run. And it's obvious. You got to find a way to make them one-dimensional and don't let them beat you. Continue the ground game, the good ground game. The Patriots, keep running the ball. You got to get 100 and something yards in this game. Chew up some clock. Keep the ball out of their hands. Don't give them anything. Don't fumble. I think we have a pretty good 1-2 punch with Stevenson and Henderson. So, I want to see more of us. All the games are won in the trenches. Everybody thinks that it's the skill players that win all the games. The guys up front win the games because they have to take on blockers or beat blocks and put pressure on the quarterback. I mean, they have to do stuff. So everybody that knows anything about football knows that those games are won in the trenches. That's where you win and lose games. That's what allows the skill players to get open and so forth. So I would just say continue running the ball. And no stupid penalties. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Brandon Schooler, I'm talking to you. No 15-yard penalties, you. Can't have those this week. No penalties. Especially at key moments in the game. You don't want those. So they've done a better job. They've cleaned a lot of it up. Let's keep it going, and let's see what happens. Excuse me. My prediction for the game is 23-20 Patriots. 23-20. 23-20, 23. 23-19. 23-19. And this will be part of the predictions for later on. which I need to, excuse me, lose my voice here. Give me, where are you? Let me put this in here real quick. Let me put this in here, right? Because I'm going to put that in there because that's one of my predictions for later. I just forgot to mark it down. All right. So we'll have that. All right. So 23-19 Patriots. I think it's going to be a close game. If they blow them out, boy, look out. I mean, that would be something if they actually did that. And I have one more thing I want to touch on because I know we're going to talk about this going forward. I wish Frank was here for this, but Drake May for MVP. Again, Negative Ned's got to eat a little crow. After the Buffalo game, when they lost and they had the lead and they blew the 21-0 lead, I said, I asked Frank if we could finally put the MVP talk to rest for a little bit. And he was like, no, he's balling. He's doing his thing. He's in the conversation still. And I was like, I don't know. I take it back. He's definitely in the conversation. And I understand Matthew Stafford most of the year put up, Xbox numbers, 4,700 yards, 46 touchdowns. Most of the time, guys that put numbers up like that are going to get the MVP. The difference is that he's got Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams to throw to. And Drake May doesn't have those guys to throw to. Drake May has, obviously, Diggs, Hunter Henry, Butte, who's the no-feet guy? Oh, my God. This is awful. Give me a second. I have him here. Where did he go? Where did you go, dude? Hold on. I got it. I can't think of his name. Jeez. This is awful. Mac Hollins. God. So this is so Puka Nacua probably had I don't even know how many yards he had because I didn't look, but it was probably over 1,400 or 1,500 yards, right? The Patriots' top receiver is Diggs with 1,035 yards. Hunter Henry second with 768. Butte 551, and Mac Hollins 550. So Drake May threw for 4,300 yards and only had one 1,000-yard receiver and only one 700-yard receiver. Think about that. I mean, that's incredible. And I think that when you talk about the MVP, you should be talking about what would happen if he wasn't there, right? So if they traded places and Matthew Stafford was here and Drake May was in LA with the Rams, would we be talking about Matthew Stafford as a possible MVP? I doubt it, because I don't think he'd be as good in this offense as Drake May, because Drake May has a scrambling ability, which doesn't get talked about. He ran for another, 4 or 450 yards on top of those 4,300 yards. So, and Stafford had -1 or -10. He didn't scramble. He's not that kind of guy. He's a pocket passer. I just think if you look at, everybody's going to look at the schedule and say, oh, the Patriots had an easy schedule, blah, blah. Well, they also had common opponents, and the Patriots' record against the common opponents was 6-0, and the common opponent record for the Rams was 4-2. The Patriots beat Carolina. The Rams lost to them, and the Patriots beat Atlanta, and the Rams lost to them. And I think that game Stafford had 3 interceptions or something. So at first I was like, Drake May not ready, blah, blah. But the more you look at it, and forget the schedule part of it, because, people are pointing out how easy the Patriots' schedule is. Well, there's records where the team with the easiest schedule won the Super Bowl. Do you know that the 1999 Rams have the easiest all-time winning percentage for a schedule that they played? their winning percentage of the teams that they played is less than the teams that the Patriots played this year, and they went on to win the Super Bowl. So, I mean, the league is designed for you to turn it around quick. You're supposed to be able to go from last to first. The Patriots did that. They were a handful of teams to do that this year. They weren't the only one. So it's designed that way for a reason. And, you know, I'm not going to hold it against them. You know, you have to play who's in front of you. They are NFL teams. If you go back and look at the beginning of the year, they should have killed the Raiders. They didn't. You know, that was a lost opportunity they missed. Next year's schedule will be much harder. You know, they have a lot of tough teams on schedule, and that's just the way it goes. But I'm sold on Drake May for MVP. He would get my vote if I had one. And it's not just homerism. I just think that, you know, what he's done here in his second year with what he has to work with compared to Stafford, who's had McVay and, you know, numerous weapons over the years to work with. I think it's a no-brainer situation. It's almost like Tom Brady, when he was here, when we didn't have Randy Moss, and you only had Walker or Edelman, and then, like, you know, Doug Gabriel or some guys, you know, just random, you know, Jags, you know, just another guy. So I don't know. That's it for that. We got to talk about the Celtics. Let's move on. Let's move on to the Celtics. They won 4 of their last 5. Unfortunately, they lost last night, so not good for them. But they did have a good week. They beat teams they should beat. They beat Utah 129-119. They were down at the half by 5. Derek White 27 points, Jaylen Brown 23, Simons 20 points, and Gaza 15 points in 18 minutes off the bench. They were only 13 of 44 from 3 for 29%. They shot 51% for the game overall. So a good win for them to come back. You know, these are teams they shouldn't lose to. But the three-point shooting is still an Achilles that we're going to keep hopping on every time they just brick them up. And I don't see any end in sight for this. I will say this, though. I did hear that the Celtics are now second in the league in three-point attempts, where last year they were first and they were breaking records. So they have dialed it back a smidge, but they haven't dialed it back enough, in my opinion. And we'll get to some of that in a little bit. I'm going to cover the rest of these games. They beat Sacramento 120-106. The game was actually closer than it should have been. They pulled away in the fourth quarter. They should have waxed these guys. Jaylen Brown got 29 points, and they actually got balanced scoring. We had 7 guys in double figures. White 16, Pritchard 16, Hauser 15, Simons 14, Cater 13, Gaza 11. That's good production. You know, when guys are contributing off the bench like Hauser and Gaza. Simons, I think, is a given. He's expected, in my opinion, he's expected to score. So if he gets between 15 and 20 points off the bench, I don't look at it as a surprise. I look at it as it should be his natural production. And he needs to continue to do that in order to help them. He can score. There's no question about it. You know, he was a starter already on wherever he came from. So, look, I don't want to say Portland. Nonetheless, look, that guy's a good scorer. He would be starting here most of the time. I think Joe Mazzulla is just like keeping him on the bench and bringing him in as an energy guy and a sharpshoot guy, or as me and Frank refer to him as Vinny the Microwave Jr. If you remember Vinny Johnson, the microwave from Detroit in the 80s, he was a killer off the bench. So, you know, 17 of 41 from 3, which is 41%. But Brown, White, and Pritchard were combined 5 for 24 from 3. And that's been a killer. That's horrible. They need to figure out how to do something about that, because later on in the year when they need to make the playoffs and whatnot, that's not going to cut it. They were lucky that Simons and Hauser were hot. One of them was like 5 for 7 from 3, and the other one was like, I don't know, 5 of 8 or whatever. So, you're lucky you're getting those kind of contributions from them guys off the bench. Then they played the Clippers, and they beat them 146-115. This wasn't even close. Jaylen Brown tied his record for points in a game with 50. He was unreal. He was hitting from everywhere. Derek White, 29 points. Jordan Walsh, 13 points, 13 rebounds. He's been kind of quiet lately. I've been looking at his box score. He's been playing like 5 minutes, 8 minutes. I don't know if it's because of foul trouble or, he's not giving them enough offensively for him to stay in the game. Excuse me. That's the only thing I can think of, because he's tough defensively. He hustles. He gets loose balls. He's a scrappy young kid. I like him. I think he's going to be a good player for the Celtics for a while. They were 24 for 51 from 3 in this game, 47%. 51 threes is too many, but when they're going in, I guess you're going to keep shooting them. 47% is really good, considering some of these other games that they've had where they haven't shot as well. I just think anything 40% or over is good. And if you're in the 35 or less, 36 or less, it's going to be a problem, especially with the number you're throwing up. If you're throwing up 51 of those and you're only shooting 35%, you're not going to win. We'll get to that in a minute because I have a little mini rant coming up for this. Against Chicago, against the Bulls, they won 115-101. Again, it wasn't really close. They jumped out to a big lead. I think they were up by 20 at the half, 21, something like that. Simons had the hot hand. He had 27 points. He was 8 of 14 from 3. That's phenomenal. Pritchard had 21. Jaylen Brown only had 14. Quiet night for him. And Derek White he only had 10 points, and he was 1 of 10 from 3. That's bad. He's really had a problem with his three-point shooting this year. I don't know what the issue is, but they need him to fix that going forward. I don't see how you can keep him in the game if he's going to shoot like that. And Neemias Queta, 13 points, 13 rebounds again. I mean, guy's getting it done. He's not great or Shaq or, even Porzingis or whatever. But I like him. He's a young, talented kid. He hustles. He can rebound. I like him. I'm hoping that, his offensive game will improve going forward, and they'll get more out of him. Last night's game, they lose to Denver 114-110. It really wasn't that close. They made a push to get it closer near the end. They were tied at the half, and the Celtics were actually up by 3 after 3 quarters. But in the fourth quarter, the Nuggets made a 14-0 run. And, I don't know why Joe Mazzulla does this. I hate when he does this, but he lets it get out of hand. He lets them go on these 14-0 run, and they're down by 10 or 11 points. It's like, why do you wait that long? When they go on like 8 or 10 point run, stop. Don't wait till the lead is double digits. I hate when he does that. To me, if you have a lead and the other team comes back and they're on like a 12 or 14 point run, or even 10 or 12 points, and the lead gets away from you and you're only up by, you're only down by 8 or whatever. Don't wait till it's 10 or 12 before calling the timeout. I hate when he does that. I want to see him do it when it's like 7 or 8. You're down 7 or 8, and you got a chance to make it up quicker, I guess, And I know Frank could speak more to this because I know it's all runs. I do watch a few other games here and there. They all mimic each other. All the teams do it. They all go on these goofy runs, 15-3, 19-4, 20-0. Every game has these runs in it. So I don't have a fix for it, that's for sure. But, it was a very sloppy game by the Celtics. A lot of bad passing, a lot of turnovers, just mistakes. Uh, remember a while back, earlier in the year or even in preseason, I said that it looked like they were playing playground basketball. That's kind of like what they were trying to do last night. Just some of the passing they were making was bad. And again, the guys, Jaylen Brown in particular, tried to Michael Jordan it by everybody. It's like, dude, first of all, I blame Missoula because Jaylen Brown shouldn't be handling the ball like that. The point guards, we've been over this 1,000 freaking times, me and Frank, and we got to go over it again. Missoula, do not let Jaylen Brown dribble the ball into the traffic and either get picked off, blocked, fouled, non-call foul, contact, shot with 2 seconds left on the shot clock. Get the ball in the point guard's hands. Let him dish it off and get it back in a spot where he can make a basket. That's where he's the best. He is the best when he can get the ball back from those guys and make something happen. If he's trying to bring it down the court and he's trying to dribble it by 3 guys in the middle, it ain't going to work. And I feel like they do this every once in a while where the guys feel like they have to do it all themselves and they don't use the other guys on the team. And it's a fail. And it's an epic fail. And he did it. Pritchett did it a bunch of times. It's like, why is Pritchett dribbling in the middle of the tall trees like that? He does this over and over again. I mean, he shouldn't be doing that either. But, I think it's on Missoula to fix this. It's like, dude, you gotta make it so that Jaylen Brown's getting easier looks because his mid-range game is good. He probably shoots 50 to 55% maybe, 15, 18 feet. And you got him jacking up threes and you don't make them. 3 for 10, 1 for 9. What game he had one this week? 1 for 9 or something. Like, no. The 3-point shots are not his strength. And if you're getting him in the ball and he's cutting to the basket and driving and getting fouled, that's good too. He needs more of that. But I don't like when, they, and I keep saying this because it's a hockey reference, Bobby Orr by everybody, or Michael Jordan by everybody. I hate that. Certain guys can do that. You guys can't do that. We don't have guys here that can do that. Even Tatum sometimes tries to do it, and he's better at it than the other 2 guys. But even him, it's like, okay, drive to the basket, you should go to the foul line, right? Because he's good enough to do that. He should do that. He's a good free throw shooter. I don't have a problem with that. But the game they lost yesterday with no Jokic, the Joker, big center there, averaging a triple-double a game. You should have beat them yesterday. They don't have their best player, and you lost on your own home court. And again, the home court thing, that's another thing for another day. We're going to have to get into because they're losing. They're better on the road for some reason. I haven't been able to figure it out. I don't know what it is, but we need the Lucky Charms back. You got to start winning at home, guys. The year they won the championship, what were they, 33 and 38 and 3 or something? I mean, we need that again, right? Okay, I have one more thing I want to get to before we get to the predictions and the poll questions. Of course, we can't have a show without having the interest kings, aka the Red Sox, at it again. It's been reported by The Athletic that the Red Sox made a serious offer to Alex Bregman, and it was 6 years, $170 million. That's a speculation. Excuse me. I don't know if it's going to be enough. I don't know how much more above that I would go. I've been against signing him for 6 years and $180 million, $30 million a year. He's an aging guy. He's 31, which sounds young, but he's had a hamstring injury the last 2 years. He missed 2 months last year. And I like him because he's a winning ball player. He's a good ball player. But for $30 million with the production that they got out of him last year, doesn't warrant $30 million in my opinion. He played 114 games. He got 18 home runs, 62 RBIs, and 273 batting average. You're making $30 million a year. You need to have minimum 135 to 140 games, 25 to 30 homers, 90 to 100 RBI, 290 batting average minimum. And I know the league doesn't do this anymore because they don't go by batting average. They go by launch angle and all this other happy horse crap that I hate. I want guys that hit 290. I don't want a guy that hits 273 and strikes out. That's not good enough. You're making $30 million a year. You should hit 300. And that's a different argument for a different day. Is he one of the better? Is he a good player? Yes. My fear is that 35, 36 years old, you're paying him $30 million, and he's playing 90 games or 100 games, and he can't play, and he's not giving you the same production. That's what I worry about, and that's what I worry about for all the guys that got those contracts. I'm sure John Henry worries about that. And so for as much as I hop on him, there is one instance where I do kind of get where he's coming from. And I wish there was a way for them to front load the contracts. Give him $40 million the first 2 years and give him $20 million the last 2 years and give him 30 in the middle. That way, when he's 35 and 36, he's not making $30 million. He's not killing you. And you can either trade him or, get something for him. Trade him, get something for him, or release him or whatever when they start declining. And I know why. I think I'm probably answering my own question. What'll happen is they'll front load it the first 2 years. Then in year number 4, the guy will hit 40 home runs and 120 RBI, and he'll want to redo his contract and get another $40 million at the end, and have a holdout or whatever. And I say, screw. You got to stop paying for. We're paying for past performance, I guess, is the issue. You're paying $30 million when he's 35, 36 for 30 home run production. At that age, you're getting 18. Then he's not worth the $30 million you're paying him. That's where those contracts go kind of goofy. This is the same thing we talked about Jeremy Swayman last year too. I'm not going to get into it anymore. Long story short, the interest kings are at it again. I'll believe it when I see it. I don't trust anything they say. We really need them to stop blowing smoke up our butts and do something. And I have a funny feeling it's going to go right up to spring training with this, just like last year. And we'll talk about it again as more rumors go around. But right now, since I've overran as usual, let me go to the poll questions from last week. Okay. If the Patriots finish with the number 2 seed, who do you want them to play in the playoffs? The Bills or the Chargers? We had Bills 0, Chargers 100%. Everybody wanted the Chargers. It's a more favorable matchup. That makes the most sense for obvious reasons. The Bills still have Josh Allen. Sorry, not Josh. They still have Josh Allen. He's still dangerous as hell. He's still the best QB in the AFC in the playoffs. So I would rather not see him yet, if possible. Next question. With John Harbaugh fired as Baltimore Ravens head coach, do you think Josh McDaniels should take the job if asked? Yes, he deserves it. 0%. No, we need him here 100%. That's my vote for sure. Nobody wants to see him go anywhere, especially given the success that Drake May has had. Hopefully he's here for a few more years. I would say beyond next year too. And I know that, next year he'll probably get more opportunity to be a head coach. There's going to be more firings and whatnot. And hopefully he stays here and doesn't leave. That's my hope. He learned his lesson. Let's move on to the predictions. The predictions I had for last week. Efton Chisholm would get another TD. Wrong. He wasn't really a factor in the game. So I was wrong there. Where is right here. I said that Diggs would play, get his 30 yards to reach 1,000, and go out of the game. Wrong. He ended up with 1,035 yards total. I forget how many yards he ended up with. Somewhere in the 50s, I think. The Bruins will lose to Edmonton, but beat Vancouver and Seattle. Wrong. They beat Edmonton and Vancouver, and they lost to Seattle. And I said that the Celtics would have a 4-0 week. They would beat the Utah Jazz, the Kings, the Clippers, and the Bulls. So it was kind of easy. They should have beat all those teams. So ding, ding, ding. I'm sure Frank will be like, "Oh, it's too easy." But I got to get something. I got to start somewhere. So let's do this week's predictions. One of the ones I marked down earlier here that I needed to have is that so number one is the Patriots will beat the Chargers 23-19. Number two, Drake May will get his second comeback victory in his career in the fourth quarter. I say the Patriots are down 19-16 late in the game. Drake May to the rescue, comes in, gets the touchdown, 23-19. There's your final. We'll see what happens. Number three, and I meant to mention this earlier when I was talking about the Bruins, Morgan Geekie is in a drought. He's scored no goals in his last 8 games. He's got 1 in his last 10. I say somewhere along the line in the next week before we come on, he'll get a hat trick against somebody. I don't know who they're playing now because I didn't look. I didn't have a chance to look who they're playing coming up this week. But Morgan Geekie, hat trick. And the Celtics, honestly, again, I don't know who they're playing, and I should. The Celtics, let's see. Prediction for them. You know what? I don't think he's had one yet. So let's go. Luka Garza gets a 20-point game next week. He's been doing better coming off the bench. I remember I dogged him earlier in the year. He was playing terrible. But I would say over the last week or so, he's really played good. He's played good. 15 points, 11 points. He's shooting. He's making threes. I'm going to go on a limb and say he's going to get a 20-point game off the bench next week. All right. So that's it for the show. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for the support. Thanks for voting in the polls. Be sure to catch us on YouTube, and we'll see you next week.